I'm the Director and the Endowed Chair for the Centre of Excellence in Tourism and Economic Development here at the University of South Carolina. Tourism is the largest industry in South Carolina. It's responsible for about $14 billion. It employs 200,000 people. And yet, in my view, we don't really fulfill the potential that we have. To me, it's a fantastic state, amazing natural resources. We have more golf courses than any other, per capita than any other state in South Carolina, in America. So I think we have tremendous potential in attracting more tourists, both domestic and international tourists. So my job is to conduct research that will help bring more tourists in, but also help the industry in terms of training or setting up small businesses. The SmartState Centre of Excellence is one of 45, I think, centres now, and they're originally set up back in 2002. The state legislative took about $100 million of lottery money and said to 3 universities around South Carolina, you can have a Centre of Excellence to help the economy in South Carolina if you can come up with matching funds, so we'll match your funds. So because tourism is the biggest industry here in South Carolina, this college raised $2 million and the state matched that to create this centre. Yeah, one of the projects we just completed was a project down in the Ph.D. area of South Carolina. And the Ph.D. is rural South Carolina, and I feel that that's one area where we could really grow. We have Myrtle Beach, we have Charleston, we have Hilton Head, and they're all doing pretty well. They're all magnets for tourists, and yet the rural areas are pretty unknown, and so we're looking at ways of growing tourism in those rural areas. And so we conducted a project in the Ph.D. to look at how we could get the millions of people that are driving down to the coast off the highway, even if it's just for a couple of hours, but maybe for a night, an overnight stay. So we interviewed those tourists, whether they're on the coast or on the way down, and asked them, what would tempt them off the highway? Is it going to be historic tourism? Is it going to be cultural tourism? What we found, it was quite interesting that, first of all, there was a very, very low awareness of the Ph.D. in general, very little brand, a very weak brand, and I think we're going to find that in other areas of South Carolina. And people, interestingly, would be tempted off the highway, but not necessarily for our history, more for culinary type tourism. We found that people would be interested to get off perhaps a unique restaurant or a brewery or a distillery, and that was quite an interesting finding. I think it's going to be a challenge, because at the moment people, when they drive down, they're coming down from New York or Ohio, they're headed for the coast. That's in their mind. That's the only place they want to go. So it's going to be a challenge to get them off the highway. But they've been successful in other countries, in Australia, for example. So I think we could with good signage and good products, we could grow tourism in those rural areas. We're 2 years into the centre, and we're still in the development stage of the Centre of Economic Excellence. I have 2 associate professors working for me now. I have a part-time grant writer. I have 2 fully funded PhDs, so we have a really nice team. I'd like to see that team grow, and I'd like to get to the point where anybody in the tourism industry, if they need any assistance, any research, any data, any knowledge, that they think of me, they think of this centre. And what I'd like to see is collaboration amongst the different, not just the different schools in the university, but the different universities in South Carolina, because there's some really strong tourism researchers at College of Charleston, at Clemson, at Coastal Carolina, and I think by pooling our resources, we could do a lot more for the industry here. We need to grow up the awareness that academia can help industry. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to build those collaborations, trying to build bridges and grow the centre, and so that we can perhaps bring in more professors, and so we can take on more projects. At the moment, I worked out the other day, we have about 8 or 9 projects ongoing at the moment. Really, for the staff we have right now, we're at capacity. So we're going to slowly grow organically, bring in new professors, and I'm very optimistic that we can make this centre very successful.